Welcome to The Numbers Game. I'm Jace, and I'm here with Nick and Marty. How you going, guys?
Absolutely pumped today, Jace. We're going all in on positivity, wealth lessons, finance lessons that matter. So, yeah, hopefully we can put some of our own understanding around this, but fired up and ready to go. Nick, how are you going?
Well, thank you. I also looking forward to this. We've gotten the shitty tax stuff out of the way, and Marty's lined up a one-on-one with Dan Andrews, so we're looking forward to that in the near future. But this stuff is gold, and I think even as a financial planning business, we don't even think about this stuff. We kind of know it, but the fact that this has all been laid out for us, which we're going to talk about today, and we're summarising quite a lot of information, I think it's going to be really beneficial to most of our listeners. Jace, how are you, mate? Looking fresh, another week down without a virus.
Feeling better, still sounding a little bit interesting, but that's all right. Sometimes, you just got to get the weird, sexy podcast voice happening, and we'll see if it changes a little bit during the show, but should be able to fire through. I took your advice on the lemon and Manuka honey tea from last ep, and yeah, that stuff just goes down like gold. So feeling good, feeling ready to rock. And I'm excited for this one. I think when you guys, while I was unwell a few weeks ago, you did the show planning and prep and sent it through. And, I think, reading a couple of the things off the top of that page, it talked about, the overview of the psychology of money, the book we're going to be going through. So for everyone who hasn't caught up, we're talking about Morgan Housel. I think that's how you say it. Is that right, Marty?
Correct.
Housel, there you go. And this book talking about money having little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And it just got me really thinking about behaviors and emotions around money as opposed to making decisions based on spreadsheets and facts. So I'm excited to dig into it. This is going to be broken into 2 episodes. So for everyone who likes to have a plan of what's happening ahead, there are 18 wealth lessons that we're going to be running through, 9 in this episode and 9 in the next episode. So stay tuned, get excited, and we're going to crack in. This episode, given we're talking about all things finance, it'd be great and just make sense that it's going to be brought to you by Innovate, the team that know everything around finance, financial planning, asset finance, everything to do with money. They are your go-to team, inovayt.com.au. And I said it on one of the earlier apps, but I've signed up to their email sequence of all the really, really good info that the team sends out. So if you're not on that mailing list, jump over to the website and check it out now. So guys, a little bit to get through, and I'm, as I said, super excited. I believe I am lucky enough to kick this off and be the first person to bring the number 1 wealth lesson that Morgan talks about in the book. Now, this one for me raised some things that got me really thinking as well. But to give you a high-level recap of the lesson, it talks about your personal experiences with money make up less than the tiniest minute 1% of what's happening in the world. It's like 0.00000 something 1% of what happens in the world. But 80% of how you think about the world works will impact your decisions around money. Now, to flow on with what that means is that every decision people make with money is justified when they take their own information that they have been taught and educated with their whole life, and they plug it into their own mental model of how the world works, and they make a decision based on that. And whether that decision is good or bad or crazy, that's just the decision they make based on the information they've got. Now, the number 1 lesson is no one's crazy. People may do crazy things with money, but no one is crazy. So the reason for this is, and this is where the lessons made me think, people come from different generations, different backgrounds, raised by different parents that may have had different incomes, had different values, were born in different parts of the world and in different economies, and did different jobs in different job markets. Now, all of these different things that I've said add to very different lessons around how money works and how you make decisions around money. To put this into a real-life example, even my own father and I look at his brother, both raised under the same household, both have very different ways of how they react and spend money. So my dad liked to have the new things, so he would be happy to go and get a credit card and finance the new TV. Whereas his brother, born and raised in the same household, but had different values and did different things with different friends growing up. My dad's brother took a different job and he started working in the bank. And he learnt lessons about finance and money and things like that. Dad was a tradie. He talked with the boys in the trade school and everything else and wanted the cool new stuff. my uncle would make sure that he would save up his money to be able to afford the new TV. My dad financed it on a credit card because he wanted it then and there. Now, either thing, one may be crazy, one may be not. But the point here is that no one is crazy. My dad's way of going about things was based on his own lessons and his own point in life where he was at. Does that make sense, guys?
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. So that first lesson is around that no one is crazy, and the decisions they make with money is based on a whole myriad of factors that add up to the way that money works for them and the way that they basically scramble to make decisions in their brain based on all of these other factors beyond what you might think. And that's where the psychology of money is going to come into a lot of the things we talk about today.
Yeah, it's good to know we're not crazy, that's for sure.
No one's crazy.
The one that I've got, or the first one for me, is never enough, or it's never enough. So life isn't any fun without a sense of enough. And I really like this. Happiness is just results minus expectations. So that for me sums it right up. So basically what this is saying is, we're on this constant journey to get more and more and more and more. And that could be for reasons of social comparison. You see someone else that has something that you want. The old saying, which Morgan actually refers to, keeping up with the Joneses. Well, who the hell are the Joneses and what they've got? Well, no one really knows, but everyone thinks they've got more and more, so we need to have that as well. So it's just saying that being happy or being content with what we've got, and to stop shifting the goalposts. So, okay, I've got a nice house, but I want to earn money and get a bigger house. Well, the question is why? Do you need that bigger house? Have you actually looked inside your own values to understand, would you actually value that house? Because it's, you don't have to look far to understand that having more money doesn't necessarily make you more happy. Wealth is not just about your assets and your belongings. So again, hardest financial skill, and this is really cool, I think the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. The minute you stop moving the goalpost, you're content with your house, you're content with your car, you're content with the investment property you've got, then you start to accumulate more, and you stop spending. So you stop going after these extra things and you start to accumulate more wealth anyway. So really cool. That's really it. There's not too much more than that. But happiness, as it's said, is just results minus expectations.
Yeah, that one hits home for me, Nick. That one, it's like I could have retired at 33 if it was enough, right? Like just would have had the suburban house paid off at about 400, 500 in the account, but it wasn't enough. Had to upgrade. And, of course, you got to keep earning for those upgrades. And really, as you get older, you recognise it was just taking the Band-Aid off old wounds of going, because there wasn't much when you were younger. You figured, to make something of your life, you had to be seen a certain way. And then, of course, you can make more mistakes along that journey. So to really understand that it being enough and giving yourself full autonomy, it can be done very, very quickly, but it's amazing. At 32, I just didn't have that awareness. 33, I was still too busy trying to, impress and overcome the wounds of the past. And it's a really great lesson. You always say hindsight's your best teacher. But again, if you had that time again, I know exactly what I would do. And there was probably about 3 or 4 more projects I would do over the next 20 years because that just would have been interesting. And it wouldn't have to be relating to upscaling on everything. So invaluable lesson, that one, I think, for any younger people coming through to share that story. I'm going to go into the next lesson, which is compounding. I think this is one of my favourites.
This is huge.
If something compounds, if a little growth serves as fuel for the future growth, a small starting base can lead to results so extraordinary they seem to defy logic. It can be so logic-defying that you underestimate what's possible, where growth comes from and where it can lead to. I love this, and I particularly, again, want to encourage younger people to get that financial intelligence to understand that. Warren Buffett, $81.5 billion of his $84.5 billion net worth came after his 65th birthday. Just incredible. Yes, his skill is investing, but his greatest skill and secret is time. because compounding works. And I wanted to give you just a little synopsis. If you're 25 years of age out there and smart enough to listen to the numbers game, if you put $50 a week away at 10% and you do that every week, you'll have $1.1 million by the time you're 65. That's one takeaway meal per week. That's one lunch that you're spending on. It's huge. And 104 grand of that 1.1 mil is savings. And there's $1 million of interest earned over that period of time of 40 years. Now, what's interesting about that, if you don't start until you're 35 years of age, just 10 years later on that $50 a week, you'll only have $428,000, so less than half. So it's an incredible lesson. And again, everyone tries to make the big gain quicker, but if you just keep doing great behaviors, putting money aside, saving it, and you're going to build to a very, very lucrative future. Nick, I know you'd resonate with that one.
Well, yeah, I think as Albert Einstein said, the compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who doesn't understand it pays it. He who understands it becomes very wealthy. And I think the one thing you said there, we talk to our clients about this all the time, it's not about amounts of money, it's about time. Time is the key ingredient. And I've spoken about this at least 100 times on the podcast, but the sooner you can get in, if I knew what I knew now in my early 20s, it'd be very different me. I'd definitely still be on the numbers game, but I'd maybe be a little bit happier and have a bigger bank balance. So, that time aspect I think is so important because, you can put $10 a week away, $20, it doesn't matter. Just start.
It's the habit.
It's the habit, and life will be very different for those that do.
And it's investing it somewhere where it is getting a compound return. So putting it in a savings account at 1 or 2% is probably not going to be the same as 6, 7, 8% investing in the market where you can. So, and our minds aren't made to really grasp and understand compounding. It's almost like we think it's not real. Like when somebody says, put $50 a week away for 30 years and you've got $1 million, it's like, that doesn't add up to that. That's not going to happen, or whatever the numbers are. But the numbers are real. It's and we're here to keep reinforcing that. And again, this comes down to that psychology of money is actually believing that you can put 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 away a week and make those small changes that will have a big impact on your life at some point in the future. You've just got to get consistent and stick to it.
3 lessons. You either spend everything you earn, you spend more than what you earn, or you spend less than what you earn and you invest that successfully over a long period of time. Very, very simple, but very, very effective.
100%. Well, brings back to the next one, which, again, if you've done the compounding and you've done the investing and you've got all sorts of things going on, it's one thing to get wealthy, but then the next part is staying wealthy. And that's one of the next lessons that Morgan talks about is getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. So there's a million ways to get wealthy, but there's only one way to stay wealthy. And that's a combination of frugality and paranoia. So what that's saying is that it's not about, just making good decisions. You can make good decisions, but it's about consistently not screwing up. So not having all your eggs in one basket, not relying on the same thing to work over and over and over again, but it's also being able to make sure that you can survive the market. So, that kind of idea around, sticking at something for a long time, and making sure that you're looking at your strategy and maintaining those consistent returns, but without trying to take huge risks, and also making sure that you're keeping an eye on what's called, your room for error or your margin of safety, because you don't want to, lose it all. So getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. I suppose the bigger returns you go for is the more likely that you can come unstuck, because higher risk is always higher reward. But you've got to risk it to get that high reward. So this is also about maintaining a safe level of return over a long period of time.
I like it, Jason. Kind of a bit of a segue into the next one, to be honest, which is tails you win. So I'm kind of getting a bit. They're all linking into each other, but this is similar to what you were just talking about, and also I guess brings in some of the compounding. But tails you win means you just keep grinding, and this is Morgan talks about both business and investing. People see the big outcomes. They see the big year of profitability in business. They see the investment that they put money into, and it went 8x over 1 year. And people externally might look at that and go, oh, geez, how lucky was that person? They had a really good year in business, or they made a really good investment decision. But they made the decision, or they were in business, and there's every chance there was a long tail of events that led to that event. So it's not crazy for most people could relate to this, but you look at wealthy people, there's probably one or two events that led to them being extremely wealthy, whether the stars all aligned or whatever it might have been. But the reality is there would have been years and years of work. There would have been a lot of events that didn't turn out, or a lot of things they lost money on, but they just kept grinding and they just kept doing what they needed. They needed to do until they got that fortune or that great profitability in a 12-month period, whatever it might have been. So I really like that one. An investor can be wrong 50% of the time and still make a fortune. You just got to keep showing up and keep doing the work. Another thing he mentions here, a good definition of investing genius is the man or woman who can do the average thing when all those around them are going crazy. Tails drive everything. So just keep driving, keep doing the things you know you need to do. And at one stage it'll come off, or at some stage it'll come off, and people externally will be looking and thinking you're lucky, but you will know in your own mind that there's a lot of bloody hard work that's gone into this, or there's a lot of research, or there's a lot of failures that have gone into this to get to that point. So tails you win, keep having a crack. Business and investing.
Yeah, the overnight success that happens in 10 years. Yeah. I really like that one. It's the next one I've got is freedom. The ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is priceless. It's the highest dividend money pays. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. People want to become wealthier to make them happy. Happiness is a complicated subject because it's different for everyone. But there's a common denominator in happiness, a universal fuel of joy. It's that people want control of their lives. And I think that's ultimately that freedom is absolutely vital if you can get to that point. And you're going to make different selections once you have that in what you're doing and how you're spending your day. I don't see it as a retirement factor or slowing down. I think it just gives you opportunities to make more choices when you're not in survival mode. So I really like that one. And again, I think it comes down to having the experiences you want in life, not just material things again, which all ties into the never enough and various other points again. But I like that one. I think that waking up in the morning and making the choice for the day is invaluable.
Yeah, I love that sentence. Money's greatest intrinsic value is its ability to give you control over your time.
Absolutely.
That's really good, Marty. Absolutely love it. This one, I don't know if you deliberately put it on my list to read this one out, but I quite enjoyed this one when I had a look. The next one is Man in the Car Paradox. And quite simply, it's that no one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. So whether that's the shiny new car or the fancy big watch on your wrist or the nicest designer clothes, the paradox here is that people tend to want wealth to signal to others that they should be liked and admired. But in reality, other people often bypass admiring you, not because they don't think wealth is admirable, but because they use your wealth as a benchmark for their own desire to be liked or admired. And funnily enough, it actually made me think, a couple of years back as a wedding present, Case got me a really nice tag watch, and it was the most expensive thing I'd ever worn, and I chucked it on my wrist and wore it out one night, and I was with a bunch of friends, and, I was making like hand gestures here, there, everywhere. And to my surprise, no one was like, oh, wow, man, cool watch. Like, really love that. And I was, a little bit taken aback by it. But maybe it's not that people weren't impressed with my possessions, but it was, people also using that as a measuring stick against themselves. And it's not for me to then sit there and be upset or sad that, I didn't get appreciated or admired. So it made you think that, the respect and admiration that is your goal. And if it is your goal, what you should seek is to have humility, kindness, and empathy, and that will bring you more respect than horsepower ever will.
I like that. Did you just come up with that, or
is
that Morgan?
That's from Morgan.
Oh,
so
God.
Just I like that. Yeah, that it's just beautiful. Though humility, kindness, and empathy will bring you more respect than horsepower ever will. And it's so true. I think about any leader or peer that I look up to, they have those things, no matter what they've got, whether they've got a beautiful house or a nice car. The people that I respect and love the most who have an influence on my life have those things. So absolutely can stand by Morgan's words there.
And humility, it's a great point, Jace. It's like humility is you could be driving, a little laser and appreciate someone driving a Ferrari. You could be that person. At the end of the day, it's still you can still appreciate lovely things. You can still aspire to have nice things, but it depends what the original intention is. And if it's to cover up a wound, that's different to going, it's a curiosity that you just need to scratch because you love it and you're in that position, you can do it. So it's what's the motivator behind it. It's a great point.
Yeah, very good stuff. Well, the next one for me is luck and risk. And there's a few lessons in this one. I actually really like this one because I think it makes us, I guess, it stops you getting hung up on what other people have and the positions other people have been fortunate or unfortunate enough to be in. So luck and risk are both the reality that every outcome in life is guided by forces other than an individual's efforts. The world is too complex to allow 100% of your actions to dictate 100% of your outcomes. So there's a couple of meanings in that. You can't expect that, okay, if I do this, this, and this from an output level, I'm going to achieve this. Well, the reality is you need things to fall your way for everything to line up and to have big wins. It's very rare that your wins are completely off your own efforts. There's generally something else that aligns, whether it's the sale of your business at the right time, that there was a purchaser in the market. You also look at disadvantaged people. I guess what this is saying is, I just think about homeless people, and I've done some work with the homeless over the years through a particular charity, and I went to a couple of presentations of homeless people presenting, and it made me realise that a lot of the times there's circumstances outside of their control that have put them in that position, whether it's broken families or broken homes, whether it's abusive homes or abusive relationships. It's not, you might look at homeless people and go, get a job. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? There's other factors that could be contributing to the reason they're in that position. So be careful when you praise or admire. Be careful who you look down upon or who you want to become. Be careful when assuming 100% of outcomes can be attributed to effort and decision. So at the same time, it doesn't mean we kick back and we go, I've just got to wait to get lucky and that big payday is going to come or that big event's going to happen. It's just saying, look, focus less on individuals and case studies and more on broader patterns in life. And I'm thinking about this as a business. I'm thinking we just, it's almost like the tail that I spoke about before.
Yeah.
Keep putting yourself out there. Keep putting yourself in a position for luck to come, because over time, risk will generally pay off. So I also talked about risk earlier, but it's understanding that if you keep having a crack and keep doing things, at some stage you're going to get lucky. So yeah, I really like that one.
It's got to turn up tails occasionally, doesn't it? But it can turn heads, right? So
keep flipping the coin.
Keep flipping the coin. Enjoy flipping the coin. There's always three sides to every coin, but it's not always acknowledged. So,
I think it's important. He does also say here, be paranoid at the same time. Yeah. So, be paranoid that bad luck can come your way, which is what it's also suggesting. Hopefully it's only good luck, but understand the risks that are out there and what bad luck can do if you're taking risks. So be paranoid, but at the same time, keep putting yourself out there.
It's a really good perception as well. Like, I think it pays to be a bit optimistic on it. I think about this story of two people trying to catch the bus, and one person's running to get to the bus and jumps on and catches it, does all their effort to get there, and they're going, geez, that's fate that I caught that bus. And then the other person who's just strolling and going, I hope the bus is going to be there when I get there, and just misses the bus and goes, that's fate that I missed that bus. And it's like, so there's a perspective play as well. There's a bit of that make your own luck, but certainly you don't know. Life can kick you in the guts and belt you around the head unexpectedly, and you've got to acknowledge that people are where they're at for a reason. So and have enough humility. It's a great point, that one. Wealth, next one. Wealth is what you don't see. I really like this one. I only discovered this one when I was 40. So I wish I had discovered this one early. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. We tend to judge people by their material goods and what they present into the world. And yeah, I think modern capitalism just makes that something that is an important thing in some way, shape or form, but it can be absolutely soul-destroying as well. The truth is wealth is what you don't see. And I always think about, it's the difference between your income and your ego is what you put aside. That's what wealth is. And it's and sometimes that's a hard lesson to come to. And sometimes it takes a bit of bad luck and some losses in order to understand that and come out the other side with a new strategic play as well. So, people talk about being rich, and rich is your current income, Morgan talks about, and saying you can drive the car. You can drive the flashy car. It's worth 100 grand, 120 grand. That's rich, but how are you setting up to be wealthy, in the future? And now, could you be making other decisions? He says, wealth is hidden. It's income that is not spent. And people are good at learning by imitation, but the hidden nature of wealth makes it hard to imitate others and learn from their ways. And I'll give a perfect example of this. I love my car. Colleen loves her car. We always have upgraded cars, but we don't have any debt on these cars. And financially now, everything I've learned says there is no reason to upgrade these cars. The cars run smoothly. It's only an egotistical play. I've got another 500,000 kilometres in these cars. And it's like, and that's now the fiscal discipline that I utilise. But you can tell by the emotion, right? The habits in the 30s are going, just get the next one. That's all right. Depreciate it. Do whatever it takes, to enjoy that ride, because I do enjoy a good ride. So, but I'm talking from my own experience, but that's a habit I really had to get out of, because I had to demonstrate my value in the world. And I thought the best way to do that was by showing that I could do these things instead of actually being in a position to be totally comfortable and make really good, smart decisions, which I do now, thank goodness. It took me 40 years to work it out though. So that was a great lesson to hear Morgan talk about for young people coming through.
Very, very valuable lessons across the board. And guys, we're only halfway there, but we're going to save the other 9 for the next episode coming up. And guys, absolutely wrapped with the lessons we've learned so far. I feel like I'm getting a lot out of this, and I'm looking forward to implementing a few of these lessons and also learning a little bit more on the next episode. If you're getting lessons out of this, Jace, we all are, then imagine our listeners. So until the next episode, thanks Morgan Housel, and game over.